When the mysterious interstellar object Oumuamua swept through our solar system in October 2017, it elicited breathless news stories asking the obvious question, is it a spaceship? There were no indications that it was, though many people seem to believe otherwise. Alien existence has always been a question mark which scientists have not yet been able to answer, but there are always signs here and there. Let's just assume for a moment that aliens do exist. Is humanity ready for their discovery? Keep watching the video to find your answers. Hello and welcome to Tipsy Alien, where we discuss the most mind-blowing facts about aliens, extraterrestrial life, and space exploration. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. Throughout history, many strange cosmic phenomena have made us wonder, could this be the moment we encounter alien life for the first time? The expectation isn't necessarily irrational. Many scientists can make detailed, evidence-based arguments that we will eventually discover life beyond our planet's boundaries. What may be more uncertain to true believers is whether such news would cause global panic, which depends on how our minds, which are heavily influenced by our earthly environment and society, perceive the potential threat of something completely outside our familiar context. There's this feeling amongst the public, a very large fraction of the public, that the discovery of intelligent life would be kept secret by the government because otherwise everyone would go insane, says Seth Shostak, an astronomer at the SETI Institute who was not involved in the study. Perhaps it makes sense for our brains, which have evolved to be wary of predators over millions of years, to freak out when enormously powerful alien beings arrive on our cosmic doorstep from unknown places. But let's say that the situation hasn't escalated to the point of alien invasion, and no malevolent starships are sailing towards Earth. Instead, we've read about the definitive discovery of extraterrestrial life. How should we respond? Psychologists at Arizona State University used language analysis software to assess emotions associated with 15 news articles about past discoveries that could have potentially been attributed to extraterrestrial life, reports covering topics such as newly discovered Earth-like planets, mysterious astrophysical phenomena, and possible life on Mars. According to a study published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology in January 2018, the articles used more positive and reward-oriented words than negative and risk-oriented ones. Although not mentioned in the paper, the team later discovered positive articles about Oumuamua. They presented their findings at the American Association for the Advancement of Science annual meeting in Austin, Texas. I think we're generally sort of positively predisposed to novelty unless we have a strong reason to suspect it could harm us, said Michael Varnum, senior study author and a psychologist at ASU Tempe. Of course, I'm not saying that if we got word there were a swarm of large alien warships on their way to Earth, we'd be overjoyed. According to Varnum, because simple single-cellular life is presumably more common in the universe than star-crossing civilizations, we're much more likely to discover alien microbes than anything we can communicate with. For his next set of experiments, he polled 500 U.S. participants online, asking them to write about how they and society as a whole would react to such a discovery. Then he asked another group of about 250 people to read and respond to a 1996 New York Times article about the possible discovery of fossilized microbes in a Martian meteorite. He compared these first responses to another group of 250 people who read a 2010 New York Times article about the first synthetic life form created in a lab. He presented both stories without a dateline as if they were hot off the presses, even though some participants were probably aware they were not. After analyzing the emotional tone of the participants' responses, the team discovered that they used more positive than negative words when describing extraterrestrial and synthetic life. This positive to negative word ratio was higher when participants responded to the discovery of extraterrestrial life versus the creation of synthetic life, which could indicate that the data wasn't skewed by, say, a possible human tendency to write or react positively. Participants were more likely to respond positively than society as a whole. Varnum believed this was due to a psychological phenomenon known as illusory superiority, in which a person believes they have superior qualities to others. However, Shostak notes that the experiment's methodology may have biased readers toward a more positive response. He admits that even if it didn't, I can't say that the conclusion was a big surprise to me. If we announced tomorrow that we had discovered microbes on Mars, people would not riot in the streets. but I don't think anyone expected them to riot in the streets. I'd buy a lot of frozen pizzas and head for the hills. I mean, I'd be out of here too, he says, if Martians landed in Silicon Valley. Will people react differently depending on the era or society they live in if the discovery falls somewhere between the extremes of an extraterrestrial microbe and rapacious hostile aliens laying siege to Earth? To protect us from predators, our brains are wired with ancient circuits. However, as we navigate the world, our experiences can shape what we come to accept or fear, as well as how open we are to novelty. This study only looked at responses from the United States, but 2 neuroscientists believe the results could have been very different elsewhere. If you look at societies that are much less open, much more xenophobic, and so on, they might perceive as much more negative and unsettling, says Israel Liberzon, a University of Michigan professor of psychiatry, psychology, and neuroscience, who was not involved in the study. Culture may be a strong predictor of how we respond to novelty, said Cornelius Gross, a neuroscientist at the European Molecular Biology Laboratory of Rome. He studied fear neural circuitry and was not involved in the study. People came to America because they were looking for novelty, so we chose for that and continued to foster novelty seeking, placing it very high on our list. In Shostak's opinion, a person's religious beliefs can shape their reaction to learning that humanity is not as universally special as many traditions believe. Even something as insignificant as which extraterrestrial invasion movies people have seen or science fiction books they've read can have an impact on how we respond to such a situation. If you watch many UFO-type movies where the aliens are always good in the end, Gross said, you might think that stuff is going to affect your brain's prefrontal cortex, and you'll modify your responses to future novel experiences. But as Liberzon points out, context is everything. Individually or collectively, people will react very differently to seeing a lion in a zoo versus seeing one in the African savanna, just as they will react differently to reading about an alien in a science fiction novel versus actually meeting one. And if scientists discover that something is literally out of this world, but also in the sense that we can't compare it to anything we know, it appears futile, if not silly, to predict how humans will react. Gross believed that we would first attempt to comprehend it, a reaction that can be interpreted as yet another ancient evolutionary sculpted defense system aimed at gaining control of a novel situation. There will likely be positive and negative responses, but they will all be based on humans' need to control their environment and ensure things are not threatening to them, he said. When we think about what forms life might take elsewhere, we're really limited because we only know what life looks like here, Varnum says. However, my suspicion is that the stranger it is, the more excited people will be. We've all seen in the movies that aliens have green skin with big eyes and antennas on their head. So far, that's our perception of aliens, but nothing can be expected until we have concrete proof. So far, we only have speculations and novelty stories about alien abductions. Maybe one day some creature shows up in front of people and shapeshifts or shoots a laser out of its eyes. Until then, let us all just keep looking. Have you ever seen something that according to you was extraterrestrial? Let us know in the comment section. If you liked the video, here are 2 more that might catch your interest. That's all for today. Please leave a like and share this video with your friends.